Alright guys, welcome back. Name is Timmy Tran. I'm your link to the fire within and to God. Alright guys, doesn't matter what have happened in your past, in your life. You at this point right now that I'm telling you, you have power. God power. The power to change everything in your life. Now, don't try to control anything else. Don't try to change anything else in your life. When you do that, what happens? You give your power to your leader, to somebody else, right? And when you give your power to somebody else, what happened? They're not going to have your best interest, right? You have the best interest for you. And after you learn throughout all your life and things don't work out the way you want it, if you have learned it from somebody, right? And that's the way thing works, right? Because when you're young, you want to learn. You learn information, and if you run to some, people that don't have your best interest, what to do? They survive. They just like living like an animal would do, right? Survive modes, right? But in animal worlds where they eat each other, right? So in human, what we do? We got intelligence. Is that because we have law, all kind of stuff like that, to stop us from doing, bad thing. So what we do? We use each other's. We use each other's, to make products, to do things, and in turn that, some people good, they'll pay you. They pay you well. Some people bad, they just be greedy, right? Yeah, like if company make million with $1, you would think they would pay you well, right? God, stop the stop sign. But that's why you gotta pay attention. Be proactive, be defensive driving as you're driving, right? But see, and that's how it works, guys. It's not somebody else's fault that they use you, right? Sometimes they use you and they pay you for what's the thing you're worth, right? And that's how it works. Anybody have a job, you understand that, right? Now, when you live in a third world country that don't have opportunity and all that, you got no choice but just do that, and you get paid less, right? And you're in the Western world where you get decent pay. A lot of people in the Western world get good decent pay, right? But it's never enough. See, that would never be enough. It's not that enough. It's not how they manage the money. How can they take that money like a seed and plant it? For most people, they don't learn. They don't learn a lesson. I didn't learn a lesson. Who teach me? Nobody teach me. My parents come from a third world country, right? So they can only know to survive, right? They know how to make money, work hard. That's what they were taught. So that's why I was taught, throughout my life. Right, so I'm pretty much doing the same thing and still doing today, right? But you gotta understand, when you work for a certain company, guys, you just can't go against a company, okay? First of all, they pay you, you accept the pay, and you just gotta do the work, and you do good, and hopefully, they're good, management, good people, they look after you and stuff like that, and they treat you good, and make sure that, that thing is taken care of, right? But you can't demand but so much, right? Within the company, the certain company, they have to survive, so they have to make profit. If the company don't provide, what happened? They will be destroyed, right? They be destroyed. What happened? And you got no job, right? Same thing. You work for a company, you complain all the time. What happened? You damage the company, you damage yourself, right? Now, if you're not happy with your pay, it's not good pay enough, you just gotta leave. You got to plan your plan out. Make sure that you can get another job where they'll pay where you want it. You'll be happy. You're in a free world, choice. To go to work for a company. I mean, but it doesn't matter. Just like any relationship, right? People want to leave that relationship. The relationship is good at the beginning because they do what is necessary, to get their husband or wife or something like that. And over time, what happened? They get comfortable and they get bored. They no longer be creative. They want something new at the beginning, right? But they don't understand. They can have things in the beginning, and they just they just act at the beginning, right? But they don't do that. They got comfortable, right? So they get bored, Oh, I don't love him no more. I don't want to see him no more, and stuff like that. So they do all this crazy stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? It takes two to make things work, right? And the thing is that in a relationship, same thing, right? Yeah, everybody get lazy. Everybody getting some time, but if you you keep on loving like Jesus, and tell you what happened, you can change the other person. But it's like a reward thing, right? You work, you get paid. Right? You do things, you reward, and God created it that way, right? You can get negative, blame somebody else, and trying to steal from other people, but it's not going to work for you, right? I mean, you might be do a little short term, gang stealing people, but eventually long term, it's not going to work out for you. It's not going to sustain. That's the way it is. But reward is sustain. You're happy with yourself, it's sustain, right? But a lot of people run their emotion, or by other people getting mad. You get online, you hear somebody get upset and call people names, bully people and stuff like that. You think about it. If they tell somebody this way, if they call somebody a bad person, now that bad person is supposed to come and get you, right? If that person and you can see it hurt, it hurt people, and you can see all over costs. If something, let's say, if somebody say, oh, let's say like a leader or something, say, hey, he's a dictator. When you say that online and the dictator see that, they don't have their army come and get you. That's it. There's no if but nothing. In the dictator world, that's what they do, right? You don't talk bad about your government. You don't talk bad, especially. I suggest anybody live in any country, you don't talk bad about your government. You live in that country, man. You know what I'm saying? Until your government change, then you gotta live by their law. If you don't live by their law, what happened? I mean, you can live by God law, and you can surpass their law. Doesn't matter what country it is. Leader always control people, right? They're always trying to suppress people. Doesn't matter what country it is, right? That's the way it works. Right, the leader, when you don't tell them, and when you don't hold them accountable for certain things, what happened? Just like me, people, in your family, you don't hold your kid accountable for something, what happened? They're gonna go bad, right? Same thing with leader. And you think it's their fault? No, it's your fault. You're not teaching. You're not, raising your voice and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You let them go, right? So when you let them go and they do bad thing, yeah, they do bad thing, but there's majority of the other people, right? And you don't stand up and say, look, that's wrong. You cannot do that. You cannot censor people. See? And the thing is that's sad is that a lot of these people is that they get paid and they're on a survival mode instead of like in a God mode. So when you're in survival mode, what happened? You listen to other human beings. And a lot of time it tends to be a bad thing. It's like human, when you're successful and you don't want anybody else become successful than you are, you think the world is like it's kind of limited space. So you get then you don't want a competition, so you want to take somebody else out, right? And that's what happened. Company, throughout time, it been like this for thousands of years. Human being, right? And luckily, there's some good people, that believe in God and stuff like that, and that's why we're able to sustain or, coexisting for this long, right? And we don't. What happened? We're gonna fight, just like the past. If you want to steal from people, eventually people have enough, right? That's the way it works. Eventually people have enough. The same thing when America was, discover American. The Queen wanted, tax money, and what did American do? No, we ain't gonna pay tax for King of England, Queen of England, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So they start fighting, and they win. And the king put his, Queen put his smart, so you know what? Okay, let's pull our troop back. Let's control the system instead. That's all the way, right? And the people are like, okay, and they don't pay attention. So what happened? Now everybody pays taxes. All right, guys. From God, teach you guys from Ten Commandments. Change your life. Bye bye. That's the way it works, guys. Bye bye.